I'm at a loss. You know, I've been on the radio for 20 years with News Radio 1110 KFAB for 10. During this time, we've covered all sorts of sad instances, and maybe it's a combination of the awful news of the week, especially coming from Orlando. This is the third tragic news story from Orlando in the past week. You had, of course, the nightclub terrorist attack. You had the killing of a popular singer from the TV show The Voice, and now this incident last night. Maybe it's reading the story about how the father jumped into the water to try and pry open the jaws of an alligator, which is absolutely impossible to do, according to experts. And when he went into the water after his 2-year-old son was forced to realize that he was going to come back empty-handed in that effort. And here we are just days away from Father's Day. Maybe it's an absolute lack of sleep last night. Whatever the reason, this one hits pretty hard, I think, for a lot of people. And I brought on to first converse about this here on the radio show a grief counselor who has had a lot of experience in dealing with not just tragedy, but also tragedies that grip the national conscience. And Veronica Sites joins us now. Veronica, thank you very much for taking the time to be with me here on News Radio 1110 KFAB.
I'm happy to be available.
You have been called into work with survivors in hurricanes, tornadoes, explosions. What are your thoughts this morning as you, like the rest of us, wake up and hear the terrible news coming out of Disney last night?
A heavy heart just compounded with a heavier hit. I mean, it's just like kicking the wounded as far as, you know, what happened to me. Just in thought and emotion, it's just like this is a compound, complex crisis situation in the city of Orlando. And like you said, it is right before Father's Day. This would be horrific on any day, at any time of the year. This is something that no one can be immune from, because what has taken place in Orlando has really escalated in the complexity of how do we respond from this. And that's the key word, is we must take steps to plan, prepare, and respond, because for this family, for the people at the resorts, and in this situation, you know, what is so tragic is we know that there are children that witnessed this. So you've got a bigger scope, and we've got to talk to the children. It's critical that experts come in and do some debriefing. Community, I would even, as a professional, I would suggest to Disney to open up and have some professionals come in and debrief anybody that was witness to that, because it's got to begin with responding to help people get healthy moving forward, with knowing what to expect, what's common, what to do, and how to talk to the children.
Yeah, according to various media reports from Orlando, thankfully there weren't a lot of kids around. It was after dark at this lagoon, at this popular resort. A lot of people in the area, but no one there in the sand or wading around in this water. The signs all over the place say no swimming. Kid was not swimming. He's kind of walking around with his feet in the water, which I would think that most parents would say, all right, that's fine, you're not swimming. And this family, being from Nebraska, maybe not completely aware of the alligators in Florida are so prevalent that when they get reports, they refer to them as nuisance alligators. You know, a 7-foot alligator walking around on a beach, on a golf course, at a resort is just known as a nuisance alligator. They have them. They deal with them on a very regular basis down there. And I don't know that anyone would have really given any thought. You're here at a popular Disney resort. Surely they've got people out there making sure there are no alligators around. I don't know if this family ever gave that a thought. There was the boy's sister, who I believe to be 4 years old, also there on the beach. Not sure what she saw. But I want to ask you about this, Veronica, because there are a number of families who perhaps are looking at later this summer, incredibly hot to go down to Orlando during the summer, but maybe this fall, going down to Disney World, going down to the Magic Kingdom, and all the wonder that is the spectacle of Disney in Orlando. And you've got little kids hearing about what happened to this little boy, And how do you talk with the kids about this situation?
Well, one of the things to be proactive as a parent is to recognize if your kids indicate apprehension or suddenly they don't want to go, or, they're asking questions. Is an alligator going to eat me? Is it safe in the water? Or they become in their behavior apprehensive, clingy. You have to talk about the facts. While that happened, we are going to do everything we can to keep you safe. It's important that, obey mom and dad and stay close to us. And honey, all we can do is prepare, and just know that mom and dad are going to do everything. There's not a need to worry, and we're going to do our best to move through this. Even mommy and daddy are going to do our best to move through this, but we're going to do everything to be a strong family to keep everybody feeling safe. You've got to, it's important to provide reassurance to the child as much as possible, especially the younger ones. The older ones are going to have the same circumstances going on emotionally, mentally. The reaction is unavoidable, so we've got to plan and prepare, and that's one of the things that is so difficult, because we don't want to think about planning and preparing for any eventuality of this nature, but there is that need to respond. So,
talking here with Veronica Sites, a grief counselor. Her website is conflictresolutionspeaker.com. She's with us here for just a few more minutes on News Radio 1110 KFAB. Veronica, I don't know how much time you spend on Twitter. Twitter can be a valuable resource for information. It can be entertaining. There's a lot of funny and enlightening stuff on there. Also, it can be a spot for some of the worst human beings in the world who think, oh, here's an anonymous tweet I can throw out there. And some of the mean responses, blaming the parents, mocking the death of this kid at Disney, it's all over the place. As a lot of it by young people. If you got, say, a young person, a teenager who's on social media, how do you talk to them about dealing with that which they see, which they might be able to be affected by one way, either to be upset by it or also to be sucked in and think, oh, this is just how I'm supposed to act. I'm supposed to mock and make fun of situations like this. How do you talk with kids about dealing with this kind of thing on social media, especially in the wake of a tragedy?
In all things, you want to stick to facts, talk about thoughts, talk about feelings, and then prepare for healing. So the fact is, hurt people, we hurt other people. And there are thoughts behind that. We don't want to think about something. So there's a form of sick humor that is like, that would never happen to me because I wouldn't let my child blah, 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 fill in the blank. But the reality is it's a form of denial. It's a form of disassociating with it, and you make light of something that person is not capable or willing to deal with, that somebody's in pain over the situation. So this hurt person hurts other people with their sick sense of humor. And for the teens or the young adolescents, they're seeing this, open that conversation, because these are teachable moments as parents. When your adolescent expresses, that really ticked me off, or they may even respond by throwing the phone down or make some gasp, some disapproving verbal sound, and just ask, what's going on. They'll tell you, and just ask them, what do you think about that? Because you want to go from facts. The fact is they just got upset about something. Then ask them, what are their thoughts about that? Well, they're upset because those thoughts are attached to feelings, and those feelings manifest emotion. So they'll tell you, well, I'm angry. this is stupid, or this is, they'll react with any manner of vocabulary to their capacity. As parents, we need to be proactive and say, what, this is why, I'm proud to be able to, I'm happy to be able to say, what, I'm going to seize this teachable moment. And honey, that's just an example of how hurt people do hurt other people. And let's take this opportunity not to be that person. Yeah,
thankfully, not all of it is mean. I like this one from A guy named Nick in Kansas City said, if I ever have a kid and need help, I can just go to Twitter for advice. So many new parenting experts this morning. Hashtag Disney Gator Attack. And thankfully, there's a lot of that on there as well. Veronica, a personal question for you. Doing this line of work as a grief counselor, how do you separate your own emotions and sadness, whether you're dealing with hurricanes, explosions, tornadoes, just all this mass grief that you deal with for your job? How do you separate your own emotions from talking with people and helping them deal with these new tragedies that they're just suddenly faced with?
Oh, I think there's a misconception that we don't connect with our emotions. The thing that's different about a responder is that we plan, we prepare, and this time at this season, this is performance time. Training and preparation lets me know I am going to walk into a volatile situation, and therefore I know how I need to conduct myself. I know what I need to do if the emotions when they become overwhelming. I need to step back, because it's not that I'm not invulnerable or that, we're not at the place that the victim is. It's that the victim needs sound mind, counsel, and direction. That's what I bring to the table. And at the end of the day, and this is literal, at the end of the day, I am debriefed. I'm doing the same thing that I am recommending that people go through, because otherwise it's like a 20-ounce carbonated soda drink. I mean, just being shaken up, shaken up, shaken up. If we do not slowly open that bottle to decompress, what happens is we suppress. This happens with people in the media. It happens with, it does happen with responders, and most are required to have some form of debriefing, so that rather than something to come along and suddenly open that 20-ounce shaken up carbonated drink and you have an explosive situation, that's part of the training. You know that as a responder, there will be debriefings for others, but expect that at the end of the day, you also will be debriefed, and there are others watching you to make sure that you don't have meltdown, that there is not that susceptibility to emotionally overload and just keep pushing through, because we can't separate from the emotions. We're emotional feeling beings.
ConflictResolutionSpeaker.com is the website. Veronica Sites, grief counselor, thank you very much for spending so much time with us here this morning as we deal with a family from Nebraska hurting in the wake of what is most likely the loss of a 2-year-old boy taken by an alligator at Disney last night. Veronica, thanks a lot for helping us make some sense of all this.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
That is Veronica Sites here on News Radio 1110 KFAB. Some of the response on Twitter with various hashtags, Disney Gator Attack, Disney Alligator, Orlando Alligator, Seven Seas Lagoon. I have been following a lot of different hashtags this morning.